I love looking at this banner. The more I look at it, and it's something that I made in 2021, the more I'm reminded of the progresses that I've made as a player. I've reached a level that I didn't think was possible, and I'm really happy about it. Some people say that when I actually do play good, that I can, hang with the big kids and stuff. They say, yeah, it's really high level. When I also know myself, and so I'm my own worst judge or critique, but I also know that on a bad day, so on a good day I can beat anyone. On a bad day, anyone can beat me. But bad days are a lot more frequent than you might have guessed for two reasons. The first reason is because, well, I had a reality check and I realized after going 0 and 4 in Johto League, I'm candid about this, guys. That maybe the people I've been playing with that I thought shouldn't beat me are at the level that I should be in right now. They are, not that they aren't. They aren't above or below. I They were all close. It was a close 0-4. And so that's another can of worms I don't feel like opening right now. And the second thing loop will is related to the first. So I spoke with a friend about this, about the fact that I think that the people that I'm facing now in tournament are finally worth the trouble, and I'm facing them, and it's making sense that I'm having a hard time. And he says, well, yeah, but GSC is also unrewarding, and you have to either be outstanding as a builder or outstanding as a player and also good at the other thing. You can't just be good at both. And there are plenty of players that are also not good at both, but are still plenty dangerous. And that's because GSC is bulky. Or is it? GSC is not bulky. GSC is fake bulky. We have the perception that it's bulky. It's pretty easy to see how. The idea surrounding this is twofold. Leftovers, you could even say threefold. But leftovers is pretty much the only viable item in the tier, making everybody recover 6% every time they're in. And it's so omnipresent that there's even an item clause format. Like it's considered a separate format. The only you can count the non-leftovers users in one hand in all of the tiers. And then there is EVs. EVs is one of the main culprits. It's what separates Gen 2 from Gen 1, and it's what separates Gen 2 from all of the later gens. Because, well, the leftovers separate Gen 2 from Gen 1, but also the special split, I guess. And then there's the EVs being maxed out that separate 1 and 2 from the rest of the gens because you can max out everything. So you can have maximum defense, HP, and special bulk without it coming at the cost of any of your offensive stats or speed. And as a direct result of this, I guess, that gives us this idea that, yeah, it's a lot harder to kill something. What with the curse lax, the general low access to powerful moves, the fact that games tend to last a lot longer. And so, yeah, it's bulky. Sure, it's bulky. Let me show you a game. So this game was from the GSC Invitational of this year. And I'm facing Crystal. I have Nidogartar, and I believe they might also. I'm going to try and zoom past it, but the first sequences are actually pretty important. So, first off, Thunder 2-hit KOs Zapdos. It doesn't even matter if you are Rest Talk. Nobody gives a shit. You get 2-hit KO'd. But people stay in anyways because RNG, I guess. And that's what I did, and I paralyzed their Zapdos. And I go to my Snorlax. And so the tempting play for Crystal is to go to Cloyster on Snorlax because it's a good opportunity to bring in the Spiker. I know this. I also know that should they choose to stay in, they're probably not going to click Hidden Power. They might click Rest or T-Bolt. So, will I go to Zapdos? No. I go to Nidoking. Okay, cool. So I have a lot of momentum, and their Zapdos is asleep. So they're actually just 3 hits away of losing their Nidoking check to Nidoking. Not quite what I would consider bulky. It's just favorable RNG until all of a sudden it has to use RNG itself to win. Sorry, favorable odds. But yeah, here it's 1 hit away. Crystal, rightfully so, does not want to take those chances. So I go for another Ice Beam because I think to myself, well, if I'm not threatened, then I'm just going to click Ice Beam and get hacks. And I managed to put Snorlax to sleep. All of a sudden, this team is as weak to Nidoking as any other. Zapdos and Snorlax, which are 2 viable Nidoking checks, are no longer Nidoking checks. So they go in on the obvious Earthquake. Good switch, in my opinion, but still, there's a problem. Do you stay in, as I predict, and click Ice Beam, or should I just hit what's in front of me? I decide to put what's in front of me asleep, and so now it's 3 for none. Not even 3 for 1. My Nidoking didn't go down yet. You know, the objective on offense is to have 1 Mon take out 2. But right now, I'm in a position where it's looking like I might just take 3 or 4. Eggy's most likely going to go down here if they don't do something. They go to Lax, taking advantage, and there's also a crit, by the way, taking advantage of the fact that Lax thaws out at the end of the turn. It does not need to act in order to thaw out, as you might see later in this game. So I think this part is pretty self-explanatory. It's constantly being put at the brink of death, and by the skin of its beak, Zapdos just barely edges out a situation where it can sort of 1v1 the Nidoking. Gets a 30% on my Lax for its troubles. And I double back to Nidoking because I'm just an asshole. And so I go for Thunder this time. It would not have died to Ice Beam. But I'm going to stay in some more, deal some chip, go to Lax. And this time I get the crit again. So I get a crit on Cloy. So that's another Mon that gets haxed. And they have not Nidogartar, but Nidoeggy and Tar, yeah. Okay, they predict that. Spikes. This isn't a video about RNG per se, but it's about how just a few bad turns can turn the situation upside down. And it's looking pretty easy for me right now. So sure, I don't really make a prediction here. I just go for Rock Slide, although arguably I could have gone for Earthquake. Because it might have given me a little bit of an advantage, but I just wanted to seal one of these easy KOs for me. I just wanted to make sure that these Tars, these Laxes, these Cloysters, Eggies would have gone down if they had decided to pull something cute. And they will pull something cute soon enough. First off, Ice Beam. Tar and Golem. Prediction. That was a prediction. They go for EQ, and they OHKO my golem. All right. They stayed in on Zapdos and predicted an EQ and OHKO'd the T-tar check with T-tar. So down goes one Mon. I'm still up 3, technically. Or 2 if you consider Zapdos being awake now. And Cloyster could die to Double Edge should I choose to. I stay in 1 turn, I jump out, I predict the boom correct. Crit doesn't matter. Whatever. And I'm in again. T-tar versus Nito, no prediction. So I go to my Lax. And kablam. Reveal unused move, Dynamic Punch. The 16th most used move by Nidoking. Just to give you an idea. And, or maybe it was the 32nd. I don't even know. And I get hit off of a 50% move. I get crit. And my Lax is down. All right, no problem. I still got this. I go to Zap. Now I try to make silly predictions, which amount to nothing. And now I get frozen. So their Lax got frozen, and their Eggy slept, and their Zapdos was in a bad spot. But all of a sudden, now I'm the one that can't fight back versus Nidoking. After I had such a good turn. But I thaw out on the same turn. 1% chance. 10% chance to freeze. 10% to thaw, on the exact same turn. So 1% odds of happening. Next turn, I attack. And I get frozen again. And this just goes to show you that one off turn, it hardly even matters that it was a dynamic punch. If that were Earthquake, I would have been in the exact same spot. And I'm losing my voice here. But anyways, I go on to lose the practically unlosable game. And I suppose if I had simply clicked one extra Earthquake on a prediction to hit the Nidoking, I wouldn't have been in this spot at all. But yeah. So looping back to our discussion, the reason why we get the impression that bulk is characteristic of GSC is because, well, on one end, it's definitely true. It's a lot harder to kill things. But one way or another, like, let's be honest here, all games end with a team losing and something eventually getting swept, or maybe there's hardly ever a game where someone edges out a win and they win by inches and, I managed to 5-hit KO all 6 of your Mons. That's not how it works. We bring it to points where there's breaking points, and then all of a sudden the team isn't all that bulky anymore. We take you down to a point where all that's left are Mons that are 2 or 1-hit KO'd by another Mon. Just as in any other game would happen. It's only that the steps it takes to get to these breaking points take a little longer. But not always. There are games that last a lot less. And sometimes you can play a perfect game. So we talk about this whole aspect because it's a bit of a misnomer, but we think GSC is this skill-intensive game. And it certainly is. Is it the most skill-intensive? I don't know. Is it the most RNG-intensive? I'm not sure. The bulk, quote-unquote, of GSC, which is certainly there, favors long-term planning. But it would be a lie and conceited of us to say that it's the most skillful because the games last longer, also because playing the long-term game doesn't always pan out. In this other example, I play a nearly perfect game, and this is GSC UU, and this was last week. So we have very similar structures, So we got our Piloswine, which I call. I named my Mons after a bunch of Italian players, myself included. So we got Tricking, Bomber, and I managed to deal some nice damage to the Piloswine. But the point of the fact of the matter is, interaction between Blastoise and Quillfish is that Curse Quillfish can 1v1 the Blastoise, but it's also doesn't have HP with which, like an HP recovery move. So I'm just going to bring my Quillfish in, and pretty much any time that it's in, I'm going to deal damage to it and take it out. So there's also this ground type, so I bring in my Piloswine, which, yes, it's a lovely Mon, but it's not really gonna. It doesn't have great odds of breaking through the Slowbro, and should it break through, it's definitely not going to be because it had an extra couple of leftovers. Whereas Blastoise is super important for me for Spike's reasons. So if I can spin, I can win, or so I thought. So I keep going, and I don't even make a correct prediction here. I just stay in, and they spike. Fair enough. Like, I could have taken it out there, but I go for Hidden Power Water again. And so what this interaction tells us is that I'm prioritizing longevity over short-term planning, as I should be, because I don't really have a setup. I have a kind of setup, but it's more of a pseudo setup. So there's this Screechmon who's quite threatening. And look at that, already with a, there's a crit on my Pylo. And if they had crit my Blastoise here, it would have sucked. That's why I didn't go to Blastoise the first time around. But, I take my chances, and, luckily I get the rest. So moving on, I spin away the spikes on the Slowbro, because Slowbro shouldn't KO here, even with a Psychic crit. And I rest off, and I'm dealing damage to Quillfish anytime I can. But I'm also making sure that Ampharos is low and Gligar is low, and they're getting really tired. Like, I'm playing hard to get. Okay, I'm not giving them any inch at all. I'm trying to play as good as I can. Here I stay in because I know that they can't Oko me on this turn where they clicked Screech. So I punish it some more, and I know eventually it's going to go down, and then it's only a matter of time before I might take out the Piloswine or the Slowbro, and they give in one of those mons, right? Slowbro, Ampharos, Piloswine, these are their sleep talkers, and it's the backbone of their defense. They have Fire Punch Amphi, but eventually they get bored. I click a move. I bring in Blastoise. They bring in Quill. I surf again. I surf a third time, and that's it. Now I just need an opportunity, but they bring in Scyther. Now, Scyther has this unique quality. It can turn an entire game on its head. And I don't have Aerodactyl on my team. So I got to play this out smart. I obviously can't spin here, because that would just be giving them a turn to set up again. Now, they could choose to attack me at +2. In which case, that would hurt, right? So this is actually the scenario that we're looking at. The turn ends here, and I did some damage in the meantime. So I know that Double Edge is going to kill Blastoise, and ultimately that's going to make my life a lot harder to stall. Maybe the play is to stay in and attack it, but I know I won't get an attack off because they're going to click Double Edge here. If they don't click Double Edge, then I punished it, and I guess I win. But they could also click Swords Dance should I decide to switch out, in which case they are very likely to win. I still have 1 or 2 outs, though. So I sack my useless, thieved, sleeping, slow Piloswine that was never going to get a chance to rest back, and I bring in Feraligatr, which can kill at this range with Rock Slide and will survive a Double Edge. And I win the interaction. Now the Scyther is low, and it has even less chances of sweeping. So moving along, this game keeps going, and they do the Gligger thing again, sleep talk. I chip it down some more. This time, I'm completely safe to bring in Blastoise because I've spun away the spikes permanently. So I'm gonna win this. I mean, it looks like in the long run I'll win this. And they don't have a particularly strong water resist besides Slowbro. I'm not saying that Blastoise beats Slowbro, it doesn't, but Glicker comes in and it dies. And Blastoise just comes in every time. So they just gave 2 Mons for nothing, and they stayed in with Slowbro, and they gave me another Mon. So they've been donating to the Make-A-Wish Foundation here. And it's really like, okay, well, I should be winning this, all right? Cool. Okay. What are you doing? Go to Amphi. Sure. All right. Amphi. The one time I decide to make an aggressive play, as opposed to doing the usual, oh, let's just go to Blastoise here. Probably a mistake on my end, but whatever. Crit. Bam. All of a sudden, I don't have a good Scyther check if it decides to set up, so I say to stay in. I miss Screech, and now I'm even in an even shittier spot because I wanted to punish Scyther if it came in. I finally click Hydro, at least that, and I stay in. Because, well, I don't know. I guess it was the right move. If it sets up, they could win. So now in this 1v1, I'm still fine. Despite everything, I'm still fine here. Still fine. So I go for, I don't know. I guess I went for a Hydro. Trying to punish Pylo. And I do some more shit. And then Pylo comes in, Blastoise, crit. I probably didn't even want the crit here because now I have to deal with this fucker again. So they're running out of options, really running out of options. But I can't just rest. So I attack. I know I have Quillfish. They take out the Blastoise. The crit doesn't matter here. But I can survive. I just need to get the Sludge Bomb, and there you go. So, moral of the story, yeah, I lose. I have a Haunter in the back. I didn't even bother revealing it. And I miss this turn, I'm pretty sure. Or the next. Doesn't even matter. Look at this as it slowly gets its HP back, and yeah, So, I get punished really hard. So when you think about bulk, you're just getting punished when the longer that your game lasts. And it wasn't necessarily even the worst RNG, but you got to watch out. Moral of the story, if we ever want to talk about it, it's about skill and about building and bulk in GSC and playing correctly. Well, one thing that I've been trying to do myself is to not over rely on rest talk. I definitely am using it a lot more in today's metagame. Rest talk is one of the illusions that provide us with this this perception that GSC is bulky and that we can pretty much manage anything so long as we have 6 sleep talkers. But that's not really true. I mean, it's true that if we don't use sleep talkers, in many cases, we will just get screwed over by mixed attackers like Nidoking, sweepers like Scyther and GSC UU, or, I don't know, Piloswine, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, okay. But we need to not live in this illusion because it comes with a huge cost. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I did this already once. I already tried to record it once, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did the second time around. I think I managed to get my point across. And I think I know what I'm going to be using as the thumbnail of this video. If you guys are enjoying this discussion, then please consider subscribing. Check out some of the links to the replays and consider joining or watching the GSC Invitational, which is a tournament that's happening right now. All right, then. Take care.